Yes, I'm back in the studio, and this time I didn't let Osayiwari go after all, because I think she's our muse on the set, so I'm going to keep you there. Hi, Osayiwari. I'm going to keep you there as I bring in two other people to join us. You know, one of them, well, she also has a Benin roots. Efe is her name. You can't blame us. And Efe is Efe Farinre, a chemical engineer turned author by circumstances, writing children's stories. And of course, Erosa, my junior brother, who decided to ditch his stethoscope to go and start publishing book, because he's also an author. Welcome to the show. And of course, you've met my dear sister, Monua. Right. Now, I would like to start with Efe, because Efe read chemical engineering. Where is this degree?
I still have it. I have it.
Nobody can take it from you.
No one can take it from me, no.
But literature is what is consuming you now. How did that happen?
Yes. Circumstances, like I shared before. I was in the oil and gas. My family had to relocate abroad, you know. So I'd even moved from chemical engineering to procurement and contracts. So that's what I was doing at that time in the oil and gas. My husband is also in the oil and gas. So we had to move out. He was sent on cross-posting. So I left my job and the family went. And we lived in Houston at the time. My children wanted me to tell them Nigerian stories every night. Then my eldest was 5, and then the second one then was 1. So my mom actually used to tell them Nigerian stories at home. My grandma told them to me as well. So when we got to Houston, they wanted me to do the same. So I said to tell them, and it got to a point I just didn't remember.
You were stuck.
I was stuck. And then sometimes I'll tell them, they'll say, Grandma already told us. I say, well, Grandma doesn't own those stories, you know. My grandma told me. So I'm just telling you what my grandma told me. But then I realized it was actually that it was a need, you know, and they really wanted to keep hearing them. I realized, I guess it was part of their identity that became more pronounced, particularly as they lived in a foreign country. So for me, it was important that they held on to that. And so I started asking around, and it was surprising that many people didn't even remember these stories anymore. And I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And I did find a few books online with Nigerian folktales, but they were written by foreigners. And I thought, come on, who better to tell our own stories? Exactly, who better to tell our own stories than us, ourselves? So I said to write them. I said to ask.
Did you have to check with mommy again, please? That touchy story.
Absolutely.
Became bold,
Exactly. I'll call my mom, and then we'll do the songs, and then I'll call people from different parts of Nigeria, and then they'll tell me the stories exactly the way that they heard them or they were told. The only thing, though, I realized in putting stories together was that our moral needs, so to say, had started to drift a little bit over the years. So I would say, for example, we were told, do not steal, do not kill. All those things are still there. But there's also the added layer of what I found children were struggling with, like peer pressure, bullying.
Which of the stories addressed that, for example? How the tortoise became bold is about the bullying.
How how the lion became the king of the jungle. Okay. So we now put in, so it's the same, the stories have maintained their authenticity, but I just put little tweaks here and here to be able to address those things I saw my children and their friends dealing with.
So when you came back to Nigeria, you had this manuscript?
Yes, and I had them. At the same time, I did a lot of volunteer work in my children's school at the time. So I used to read those stories, and I'll read a book. So you read a foreign book, and then I'll tell them our stories. And every time the children will always say, Mrs. Farinre, can you tell us another story? So that I made me realize that, you know, our stories are without borders. You know,
so how did you find a publisher? When did you decide to publish? Because, I mean...
So, in all honesty, I'd finished the book, I'd finished the manuscript.
Because Monua here used her money to publish her book.
I understand. No, same here, eventually. So I put it aside, and I was going to go back to my job, you know, but one or two things happened in life, you know, that I was like, you know what, let me just dust up this manuscript and let's see where it's going to go to. And then I did have a publisher, and I'm not sure I want to go through that story, but it was
carrying up with narrative. So it was difficult finding a publisher.
It was quite challenging, and I did find a publisher, and we started the process up until got to a point where I thought we're about done, and they literally walked away.
Now, was it a function of people didn't want to publish children's literature, or just literature generally?
Let me help.
Yes,
okay,
maybe
because he was there.
It's complicated. You know, I worked for a publishing house
before you set up this one.
Who published my novels.
Yes.
I ran the business for her before I now set up my business. So she was one of the authors I had acquired.
Oh, okay.
So when I left, it became a casualty of the refocusing of the company's agendas, so to speak. So a few books were called from the coming out list.
So you took this one?
And so this was one of them. So I had now set up Narrative Landscape as a publishing services firm. So she was one of our first customers. So she actually it was a co-publishing deal, basically.
Okay, so tell me, the question is,
Yes.
is it difficult? Why don't you have enough children's literature? Is it that there are no writers or there are no publishers?
We do. Cassava Republic was doing this massively powerful series of books that they...
But there were romance novels.
No, not the romance novels. There was the children's books. Many of them, they were doing 10,000 copy, 20,000 copy print runs. And they had kind of keyed them in with the UNDP's Millennium Development Goals. They came out 5, 3, 4 years ago. There were really a lot. The problem is a definition of, is a clash between distribution and the creation of the stories.
Oh.
At Kachifa, I had published Afro, the girl with the magical hair.
That's the publishers we read before.
Yes, exactly. Which was a take, an African take on Rapunzel. Instead of letting down
yes,
your hair,
was that the one that
we kind of let up our hair.
Okay.
Yes, Afro, the girl with the magical hair. So we had been engaging, the publishers are engaging. I was particularly excited by Folktales Are Forever for the same reasons that she was, because we're of a generation. And the storyteller in our family was my dad. So my dad would tell us, Joromi, if Nami eats this rice, tell us all these stories about Agbaka and all those, about the alligator who was eating naughty children. And I found that I couldn't tell my own boys.
Do you find that too, Omonu? I'm just wondering because, you know...
Because I couldn't remember them in that much detail.
Do you find that a challenge?
I did at some point when I wanted to tell them stories. I can't remember what the tortoise did, how he went into the toilet.
Then you create your own.
I tried somewhere and I just gave up.
Or how the hot beans.
I just lost everything. I couldn't remember even one.
So, but the question is it because our children reading? I worry though that, I mean, your child has gone ahead and published a book. You're not, you just want her to express her talent. That's good. How do we get these books in children's hands? How are our curricula, how do books get into school curricula and things like that? Maybe you can answer that.
Yes, you know, there was this, in terms of the structure and the design of the curriculum of the reading agency, you know, you have your curriculum, then you have your recommended books. They are close, but they're not exactly the same. And you have recommended reading like this. The ideas are good, but things tend to fall through the cracks. Everybody has seen screenshots of pages from supposed children's books on social media that are kind of really upsetting. So you have those problems, and it's the duty of the publishers to continually push the good content that we have. We grew up with recommended books by Cyprian Ekwensi
and co,
we grew up with, because we have this battle about good books for children or what, and we'll go there in the course of the show, and I believe that there's no book that is bad for children so long as children like them, because I believe that reading is
but children will like them only when they see them.
I mean, you see
Osaiware reads international books.
But I'm speaking towards gatekeepers. So you have children's books that are written that are actually quite good, but if they don't meet a certain agenda, if they don't state a clear-cut moral, meanwhile the moral itself is the story.
Because I know that, for example, as concerned mothers, we've raised an issue about some books that have been read in our children's schools.
Yes, exactly.
Clearly pornographic.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, where are these kind of books that we knew? Binta saw Salim, Kiniko, you know, but that's another kind of, so what's the question here?
Corruption.
On the children's?
No, it pervades everywhere. On the curriculum, on the book selection process.
I'm just wondering, someone like Osaiware, do you wish that your books, other people read your book? You wish that they read your book, at least because you took time to write it? You know, because for you now, you've published this, what are you going to do with it? Expensive posts and other stories. She turns 10, you give all her friends.
I asked the publisher, are you going to help me market? He says, no, we just publish, you have to market it yourself. I said, well, let's get the book out first. We'll donate some to our school library and give some on her birthday and just probably bless people with it for now.
So, but what's most important is having parents understand that if a child has a talent,
you don't let it die. You fan it, you encourage it, you do everything possible to bring that talent out of that child.